Hello, everyone. Daim Shabazz with the Chess Drum here, and today I want to present to you the first of four videos in commemoration for Black History Month. This year, I'm going to do something a bit different. In the past, I've focused more on recounting the contributions of players of the African diaspora, and I will continue to do that, but I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to present the first of sets of puzzles for your enjoyment. Those of you who love to do the Puzzle Rush challenges on chess.com will appreciate these, except this is not a rush in the sense that you're timed, but these are just positions. And you may remember from if you were someone who's been following the chess drum for many years, you will remember chess crackers. And these were positions that you were present with and you had to figure out the continuation. So I'm going to do a throwback of chess crackers and present some of those puzzles that you may have encountered over those years. I had run the segment from 2001 to 2010. It was one of the original features of the chess drum. So the first puzzle features FIDE master Philip Corbin. He is a player from Barbados. He's one of their legends, 7-time champion, 12-time runner-up, and he's known to some as the Caribbean Tal. And if you saw his games, you would know why. He plays a lot of gambits, a lot of sacrifices, and he plays a swashbuckling style of chess. And years back, he wrote an autobiographical piece in 2011. And the article that you see was also 2011, so it must have been shortly after he released the book. This is the book he released, Calypso Chess. And in this book, which is very well done, but he has all of his games. They're all annotated. They're all of these positions. He has indices in the back. He has everything covered. He has tables, and it's very well done. And he asked me to write a blurb about the book. And okay, here's what I had to say about it. The pulsating sound of the calypso beat resonates in Dr. Corbin's well-written tome of his worldly chess experiences covering 4 decades. This volume is a must-read for those interested in the history of Caribbean chess, Olympiad festivals, and innovative chess ideas in a way befitting the man known as the Caribbean Tal. The narrative is a personal account of one of the most colorful chess players of our time and is a testament of the contributions made by the smallest chess nations. Buckle your seatbelts for an exciting ride. So that's how I described it, and it certainly lives up to that hype. But if you go to the chess drum and you look up the review I did, it wasn't so much of a review than it was just introducing the book. And here you see a picture of the Barbadian or the Bayesian team in 1986 Olympiad in Dubai. And you see him in Trinidad. There was a 2009 Caribbean Chess Carnival. And I did not attend that one, but I attended the two after that I attended. And there I am with Dr. Corbin in Dresden at the Olympiad. I'm not sure if that was the first time we met. I think I met him in Calvia, Spain in 2004, but he's a consummate gentleman and such a wonderful player and person. All right, so let's take a look at one of Corbin's positions. So here's the first position. This is Philip Corbin playing black. He is playing Li Ying of Mauritius. This was at the 2000 Chess Olympiad in Istanbul, Turkey. It is black to move and to follow with a mating sequence. So take a couple of minutes and find the solution. Okay, you'll notice a couple of things in this position. Black's king is exposed. So this king that's exposed here needs a cover. If black played something like queen to h3, trying to mate on g2, then the black king would be harassed by a barrage of checks, probably beginning with queen to d8, and then a bunch of checks to follow. So black really doesn't have time to waste. So the first move that most of you probably guessed is rook c1 check. Now, one of the things with playing a combination is that you have to get the move order right. Many times we can get the first move, but then trying to piece together the rest of the moves is going to be a challenge. Now, if you don't get the move order right, that can make the difference between your opponent getting away or you claiming the victory. So after rook c1, white only has h2 as an escape square. So now, how do you finish the game? Well, there are a couple of ways that you can finish. One of the ways that you may have seen is rook h1 check, king takes, queen h3 check, king g1, queen g2 mate. That's a nice mate with the rook sacrifice. And you would be right if you chose that, but it is not the most expedient. There's a better way to deliver checkmate, and it takes one move less. So what is it? King h2, queen h3 check, king takes, rook h1 mate. And as you can see, these two squares are held by both black pawns, and the rook delivers the mate at the end. The second position is going to be Stephen Muhammad. Steve Muhammad is an international master. He's mostly retired now. However, he qualified for the U.S. Championship 3 times. And the first time was the 2003 version of the U.S. Championship. I went out to Seattle to cover it. Maurice Ashley also qualified. And here is a picture I took of both of them just talking. I believe this was at the end of the tournament, and they were reflecting on the experience. And it was a lot of fun hanging out with them, and we were just living the moment, that historic moment of both of them qualifying. So this is Stephen Muhammad here playing a young Varujan Akobian. Stephen Muhammad earned 3 norms, one at the Wilbur Page Memorial Tournament. He earned another one at the World Open. I believe that was 2002. And then the last one he earned at this tournament, the 2003 U.S. Championship, which made him an IM elect. And he earned the 2400 rating sometime later. So let's look at his position. So this is the position of Stephen Muhammad playing white versus Rashid Ziadanov, who was an international master from Uzbekistan, and at the time was living in the Atlanta area, I believe, or he may have been just living in the South. But this game took place at the Atlanta Open in 1998, and I believe I played in that tournament. And as you can see, Black's king is in dire straits. It's wide open. These pieces, the black pieces, are offside. The queen is on b6. The knight is on b3. They're both out of play. And this bishop on d8, as you can see here, is also a bit out of play. And along with the rook, it would be the only piece that could offer any resistance to the attack on the king. So in this position, you have white to play and move after the rook h7 move. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to figure out the mating sequence. Okay, what did you come up with? You probably came up with the first move, and you noticed that Black has a lot of these squares covered, so which makes escaping a lot more difficult for the Black king. White also has this 7th rank. At this point is hems in the king. So the first move is bishop f7 check. Obviously, you can't play king f8 because that would just run into mate in 1. So you have to take the bishop. Queen e8 check. If king f8 or if rook f8, queen g6 is mate. So you have to run away and allow white to take the rook. So rook takes. Now this is a completely winning position in terms of material, but white has a nice finish after king h6. It's important to find the winning move. Now there are a number of winning moves here, such as bishop f4, bishop g5, and queen f6 check, winning the bishop. And then you're just a clean rook up. You can also try the other way. You can try bishop g7, and if the king goes here, then it's just mate in a couple of moves. So that's another way. But on check on g7, Black can actually play king to g5. White still will end up winning the game because after f4, the king has to come forward. If you go to g4, then queen g6, then queen g6 is going to lead to mate. So you would have to actually go to h4. And now things get a little bit sloppy. There's an interesting idea here is actually playing king f2 and then bringing the rook over. But that's a lot of moves. So what is the most accurate move here? The most accurate move is not bishop g7, it's not bishop f4, but it is g4. g4 takes away all the escape squares. It actually threatens mate in 1. And actually, queen h5 is unstoppable. There's no way to stop this move. And so this mating that results in a very nice finish for Muhammad. Actually, after bishop f7, Black resigned here and did not allow the following combination. So, but very nice finish for Muhammad. and I believe he actually won that tournament. I believe he won that Atlanta Open. And this game actually appeared in the Georgia Chess magazine, and he annotated it, and it was a proud moment for him. So the third player I will recognize is Marvin Dandridge. Marvin Dandridge is a personal friend of mine, and a Google search will bring up a few of the images of Marvin, and that's me pictured with him on the left. And I actually wrote a tribute to him as far as his chess mentorship. And he told me that he was very touched by the article, but I think it was very appropriate uh, to have such a tribute because he was very important in my development, and he's one of my chess big brothers, with Roger Hickman being the other big brother in chess. So Marvin Dandridge was a very tactical player. He's also known for his sense of humor. He has a tremendous sense of humor, and he is a trash talker par excellence. He is one that you don't want to get into a back and forth in terms of trash talking because it will not end up well for you. But this is Marvin in more recent times. He does not play as much as he once did, but when he did, he created quite a bit of terror in the Chicago circuit. So let's look at one of his positions. This position was actually played in a blitz game, and you see this position after knight e5. And I'll give you a few minutes to take a look at the position, and then you can continue and we will go over the solution. All right, so in this position, this came out of a Smith-Morra Gambit, believe it or not, in a blitz tournament against Grandmaster Dmitry Gurevich. Now, looking at the position, you can see that White's pieces are menacing, but it's not real clear of how to finish this position. And looking at some patterns here, you can see the two knights that are aggressive pieces, and there's a lot of scope of these pieces in the center, which is why knights are so devastating. So in this position, Marvin plays bishop takes h6, threatening the obvious mate in one, right? Gurevich played bishop take h6. Marvin plays rook takes h6. Obviously, king takes h6 is forced. Queen g5 check. King h7. Knight to f6. Either one. And of course, this leads to mate. So that was a very nice finish by Marvin, who is known for his tactical style. He had a very, I would say, crazy tactical style. Not in the way of Tate. Tate's tactical style was more from sacrificial themes. But Marvin used to create tactical sequences out of nothing. He would just find these tactical blows, and he would certainly shock a lot of players with his keen eye for tactics. The last player I will honor is Rogelio Ortega, who was the 1966 national champion of Cuba. And I found about Ortega through a letter that I received from Jim Kilbaki, who asked me if I knew about him, and I did not know about him at the time. This had to have been in the early 2000s when the chess drum was still gaining momentum. And so I got this newsletter and I saw this group shot. And I'll show you the shot. This was an article I did on Ortega a couple of years ago for Black History Month. This was the photograph that I saw. And as you can see, Ortega's in the middle here. You can't miss him. And he's surrounded by a number of luminaries who you will recognize some of the names: Furman, Floor, Uwe, Ullman, Hort, and you may remember Filipowicz, Duncan Suttles. Some of these names I don't recognize, but he actually played a who's who of chess legends. And he played first board for Cuba in the 1966 Olympiad, which was hosted in Havana, Cuba. And this is him in that tournament playing against Najib Bouaziz of Tunisia. And as I say here, this is not the Slim Bouaziz of Tunisia, who was the first African grandmaster, but it's Najib Bouaziz. And here's some biographical information about Ortega, born in 1915 and was the national champion. Also played in the U.S. Open in Nebraska, scoring 8.5 points. And you can see the competition he played. He played Mikhail Tal, Spassky, Smyslov, Geller, Portish, Reshevsky, Najdorf, Rosalimo, Bronstein, and Horowitz. And I'm not sure of the score. It probably was not a good score, but the fact that he was rubbing shoulders with these legends tells you something, that he was actually in the mix as far as competing against this talent. Here was the board, I guess you can call this a bulletin board. When I walked in the Capablanca Chess Club in 2011 and saw this tournament happening, I looked at the board and it said Rogelio Ortega. They were actually having the memorial tournament of Ortega. This was the venue, and so I spent a few days there watching the tournament. I was able to play also some offhand games. Players there are very strong. And I had someone that I met and asked him if he could give me information about Ortega. It's very difficult to find information, and I'm still looking, but I believe his story is worth telling, and he is one of those figures that you don't hear a whole lot about, and I've tried to bring to light his career. So let's get to the position. This was the position that Ortega reached against Lauria Soto. This was in Havana, 1952. Rogelio Ortega is playing black. And he came to this position. And as you can see, the pawns are locked, and which means that there's going to be some maneuvering. Black has an open file here. But this open file would not really play a role in the game. This position is going to be very instructive, and if you take a few minutes to look at this, White's last move is bishop f1, and you are to find the killer blow. Let's take a couple of minutes. Okay, so what did you come up with? Note a couple of things here. You have a pawn, kind of a wedge here. You have these squares being controlled. You have white's knights, which in this type of position, looking at the white knights, they look a bit clumsy. They're not able to maneuver. And so these characteristics of the position will make a difference. So what did black play? Black found the incredible knight takes d4. Breaking down the pawn chain. Of course, white is obligated to take. And then you have a follow-up move, queen to a7, threatening bishop c5, winning the queen in the game. So now what do? How do you guard c5? So white continues with knight to d3, guarding c5, takes, queen takes, bishop takes c5, and these moves are forced. Now, actually, white resigned here. Now, why did white resign? Well, after king g2, black has the beautiful queen h7 with mate coming, and actually mate is unstoppable because remember this wedge here. This pawn is controlling both of these squares. The bishop is controlling this diagonal here. So there's no escape. The king can't move, and there is no white piece that can guard h3. So this, in my eyes, was a very beautiful pattern, a geometric pattern. So we go back a couple of moves, and we see the way white's position collapsed as a result of knight d4, queen takes, queen a7. Very beautiful pattern. And it's just interesting how white had no escape from this mating net. Well, that will do it. That is going to be the first of 4 segments I'll have featuring some of these combinations of players in the African diaspora. We're going to spend this month celebrating these players who made contributions in their own countries, and hopefully these positions will maybe make a Puzzle Rush database. But certainly these are positions that come from games that were ended up in magazines and were analyzed, and certainly these are positions that we can learn from in terms of the types of tactical lessons that they provide us. So that will do it. Hopefully you enjoyed this segment, and stay tuned for more of these segments throughout the Black History Month 2024. And as I always say, keep the beat going. Thank you.